Hello everyone, welcome back to Simulated Heaven and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. The first Dream Pack was released for Assetto Corsa today, which included this car, a Mercedes 190 AMG Evo I think it was called, which is a DTM version, and also the Nordschleife was included, so I thought I'd just do a quick video of me failing at driving at the Nordschleife. I have been driving around here a little bit just to get a feeling for it, and I thought that I would give my impressions. Now I want to show you guys first actually the interior of the car, and then after that I'm going to switch back to the bonnet cam just because I want to show you guys what the track looks like fully. The main purpose of this video really is just to show you guys what the track looks like and everything. It won't be any pro driving, as you guys are aware. I am not really capable of pro driving, but just to show you guys what it's like and everything. It goes without saying that the modelling on this Mercedes is pretty amazing. You can see the interior looks amazing, even the windscreen, the dirt on the windscreen and everything looks pretty amazing. Like I said, it kind of goes without saying because the graphics in this game and the modelling in this game is usually pretty amazing, so that doesn't really surprise me that they've done a good job with that side. Now, while I'm talking about those kind of things, I suppose maybe some people might be wondering about force feedback, if there's any change in my feeling. Now, I don't think there's been any major update to the force feedback regarding my Thrustmaster T500 RS, but what I will say is I've kind of noticed when playing the game more now that if you get a car with more heavier force feedback, you know, that's a heavier style of car that you would expect to have more force feedback in general, that will help to cover up the gaps in the force feedback, whereas a lighter force feedback style of car, like a single seater, for example, like an open wheel single seater, which would usually have lighter force feedback, it doesn't obviously then cover it up as much, because the problem is there are periods of time when there are gaps in force feedback. So yeah, I'm feeling, for example, driving this car around here, I'm finding the gaps, you know, a fair amount less than before. There are still gaps, there are still gaps, but like I said, I find them quite a bit less with a heavier force feedback style of car, or a car that you would expect to have heavier force feedback. I believe as well that the fact that this is a laser scan track also helps with the force feedback, because one of the problems I had before, because there seems to be a lack of force feedback when you're just going in a straight line, for example, with the laser scanning of the track, it kind of helps to make that part feel more alive. So whereas before on a non-laser scan track, I would find that the gaps were even more obvious because the track would feel kind of smooth and lifeless almost through the force feedback, whereas now with this one, and I'm pretty sure it's because it's a laser scan track, although I could be wrong, I just feel that a lot less, you know. There seems to be a more alive feeling from the track. Which is great. But yeah, certainly, I mean, it's kind of helping to mask some of the problems with the force feedback on the T500 RS, but it still is not, it's still nowhere near being up there with the likes of GameStop Car Extreme or R Factor 2. So that's that out of the way. Now let's, like I said, the main point of this really, whoops, I'm in the wrong gear entirely. The main point of this is to show you the track really. So let's drive a bit in this view. I don't usually drive in this view, but this is just to show you guys what the track looks like. And in terms of the track itself, how it looks, I mean, first of all, considering this is a day one release, I mean, it's running really nicely, really smoothly. I'm getting a good FPS even while recording. I have noticed that this track does eat my FPS. Whoa, no, what a rubbish corner. This track does obviously eat my FPS more than some other tracks in Assetto Corsa, but you can kind of expect that with the scale of the track, so that's fine. I can accept that, no problem. And we're suddenly driving rubbish. But yeah, for a day one release, I mean, I don't see anything glitchy or anything in the graphics. It looks really nice. It's running really smoothly. And funnily enough, something I've been really impressed with are the trees. Like, to me, the trees look amazing. Now, like pretty much every other version of the track I can remember that I've have a lot of experience in, that I've driven a lot, has been a mod. For example, about 3 or so months ago, I don't remember the exact amount of time, I got really into the R Factor 2 modded version of Nordschleife. Now, don't get me wrong, that is an awesome version of the track, and the guys that are making that have spent many, many hours, a long time, making that track look awesome. So don't get me wrong, that is an awesome looking track. But of course, they are simply modders, whereas this is a track made by the people that make the game. So you can see that they've been able to really tweak everything in the game to make this look super realistic and super nice. I mean, I've never been to the real Nordschleife, but I would imagine this is the most realistic looking Nordschleife, certainly that I've ever seen. Now, I know there is a Forza 5 version, but I don't have a lot of experience in that, so I can't really comment on that one. But yeah, and like I said, the trees especially, I find the trees especially look so amazing, and this part of the track feels so amazing on my force feedback, which you'd kind of expect, because like I said before, the curves feel amazing in this game with force feedback, and that's kind of a bit like a funny version of a curve, if you know what I mean. So yeah, but yeah, the trees and just all of the textures of the track, it is amazing. So I'm really happy, because I think this is going to be one reason why I'm going to be driving more Assetto Corsa. There's not really been anything in Assetto Corsa which has really drawn me in, really. So I've not really played this game that much. And this track is going to be, I think, a major reason why I spend more hours in this game. Like, it's going to actually get me with more, you know, it's going to encourage me to play this game a lot more than before. I was finding before I was not really choosing to play this game that much, and R Factor 2 and GameStop Kart Extreme were taking precedent over this more often than not. So I think this is great, because this is going to be some really great, you know, a really great reason to play this game more. Like, there's nothing better in sim racing than that feeling of driving an awesome race car around this track and actually starting to learn all the corners and actually start to drive quite well, you know. It's kind of like sim racing zen, you know. It's kind of that kind of thing, that point where you can drive around this track and remember a lot of the corners and drive well. I'm way far away from that point, in case you're wondering, but yeah, that is an awesome thing in sim racing. So it's pretty amazing, like, to get such a good version of the track. It's going to be very interesting as well, because iRacing, I believe, will be bringing out their own version of the Nordschleife. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but I don't think it will be too far away. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can actually compete with this, because they will be laser scanning as well. So we'll see. But hopefully this video has at least kind of given you a good idea what the track looks like. And yeah, even with the slight force feedback issues with my wheel, I'm enjoying it a lot. It still feels pretty awesome. Now, this is actually a point-to-point track. When you run the tourist version of the track, it's a point-to-point track. So I believe I now need to turn into the... You can see there are barriers ahead. So I believe I now need to turn into the pit area or whatever it is, because you see you physically can't drive another lap. So you're not supposed to do many laps of this. You're supposed to do a you know, it's like a point-to-point thing. They're trying to be uber realistic. I don't know where I'm supposed to go now, but let's just park up here. Okay, so let's show you guys a replay before we go. Like I said in my last video, replays in this game are absolutely amazing and unbelievably amazing. Like, by far the most realistic looking replays I've ever seen in a sim game, you know. So yeah, I mean, like, I would highly recommend this Dream Pack. I know there are people out there saying, oh, it's overpriced and stuff like that. For this amount of track, I mean, this is a really long track. The quality of the track is amazing. I haven't tried all the cars, but I have tried a good amount of them, and they all seem to be very high quality as well. So I definitely think it's worth that kind of investment. And like, look at that and hear it. It's pretty wicked. So yeah, I think I'm going to be spending more time in Assetto Corsa, and you know, I do hope that eventually I can somehow get my Thrustmaster T500 to be like a better experience with force feedback. Whether they somehow are able to fix it, whether it's an issue with Thrustmaster, whether they can like release an updated firmware or driver that can improve that, or whether it's just a way that somehow I can tweak it, you know. So I suppose that's the only thing I would say is, if you do have a Thrustmaster T500 RS like me, and if force feedback is your #1 thing in a sim game, then that would be the only reason I wouldn't recommend that you get this, you know, because it would appear that at the moment you can't really get rid of that slightly dead or slightly, you know, that feeling that there was some missing aspects of the force feedback. If anyone out there owns a T500 RS and is able to, you know, confirm that, and let me know if they are able to get a decent enough feeling force feedback. And I've also wondered whether the Thrustmaster TX wheels are any better or worse than the T500. So if any of you guys, I'll say that again, if any of you guys own any of those wheels, I'd love to know what your experiences have been. Anyway, I've blabbed on enough. Thanks for watching the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.